do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
The Dallas Mavericks might have the brightest future in the NBA. Since drafting Luka Doncic 2 years ago, the team has been on an upward trend, and with Luka blossoming into a real superstar and MVP candidate, the Mavericks are going to be a real threat to win championships in the near future. With Kristaps Porzingis as the co-star and another year of experience for Luka, the Mavericks are only going to be better than they were last year, but what do they have to do to get the team over the hump? Welcome back, everybody. It's Courtside TV. Today we're going to be talking about the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic is the real deal, man. This is about as impressive of a 21-year-old player as I have ever seen. This guy is coming into the league as an MVP candidate in his second season, going head-to-head with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in the playoffs, hitting one of the most amazing game-winning shots we've ever seen in the postseason. That game was amazing from Luka, capping it off with that 30-foot game winner. He got the rare double bang from Mike Breen, which is, reserved usually only for Stephen Curry, but we'll give it to Luka this time. He just had an amazing season, especially for a guy at his age. He has absolutely proven that he deserved to go first overall in that draft a couple of years ago. He is far and away been the best player out of that class. And it's just ridiculous how good Luka is at such an early age. We should have seen this coming when he was playing in the Euro Leagues in Spain, playing pro ball at 16, 17 years old, and he's only gotten better and better and better every single season. And so the Mavericks have found their superstar, their successor to Dirk Nowitzki, and this guy is going to be the face of the franchise for the next 15 years. Hopefully if he stays in town and stays healthy and all of that. It's too far to project ahead to that stuff, but right now Luka is amazing. He's here to stay, and he is going to be putting up numbers for this team. And he is good enough to lead the Mavericks to a title. So what do they have to do to put a team around Luka in order to be competitive and continue to compete for titles as Luka grows more and more and into his prime? Well, the other big key for Dallas' success is Kristaps Porzingis, and a lot of the questions around him revolve around his health. This was another year with another injury for Porzingis, a meniscus tear in his knee, nothing too major, nothing to be concerned about moving forward, but it did cause him to miss time in the postseason, and it's just another in a long list of injuries that Porzingis has had so far in his career. At only 25 years old, obviously had that torn ACL when he was with the Knicks, which caused him to be traded away. Never played another game for them, and he's just been constantly getting dinged up here and there. He has had a lot of injury problems so far in his career, but when he's healthy, he's been great. He has the nickname of a unicorn for a reason. He can shoot the three, play inside in the paint. He's incredibly tall, and is just a good rim roller, good center. And very skilled as well. But just the issues with Porzingis is mainly his health, and so whether or not he's going to be available for the Mavericks as they continue to push for titles is something to watch, because this was really the first year that he has been playing competitive basketball, getting into the postseason, and he wasn't healthy for most of that first round series against the Clippers. And so Porzingis is a great number 2 option, but I think it's fair to consider whether or not he can be relied upon to close games for you, late in these postseason runs and throughout the regular season, if he's just going to be getting hurt all the time. And so Porzingis he's good, but I would not be surprised if Dallas decided to move off of him at some point. I'm not saying that's going to happen this offseason, because, more than likely it won't. This was his first full season with the Mavericks, and they're not quite ready to, make a move like that yet. But maybe sometime in the length of this contract, over the life of this contract, if he continues to be unavailable due to his injuries, there might be a chance that Dallas would consider flipping him for a different player. And so we will just have to see if anything happens from that. That's something to watch a couple of years down the line. Not right now, but maybe if health continues to be a problem for Porzingis, there could be a trade involved. But for right now, he is a good number 2 next to Luka. He complements Luka's skill set very well. And so this team is going to be scary next year as long as he can stay healthy. So taking a look at their cap sheet, the Mavericks are actually in a very good position when it comes to their cap and the players on their roster. They don't have too much money committed in the long term, and we've seen them mentioned as potential big name hunters for big free agents in the summer of 2021. They've been linked to Giannis Antetokounmpo, them along with teams like the Raptors and the Warriors, teams that are going to have, and the Heat as well, teams that are going to have cap space or trade assets in order to acquire somebody big in that offseason. I'm not saying that Dallas will get anybody of that caliber, but they at least have, the capability to do so if somebody became available. With really only Kristaps Porzingis is locked up long-term on a large contract. Now, of course, Luka Doncic will get an extension when the time comes for that, but he still has 2 years left on his rookie deal. So after next season, I would assume they would extend him. But beyond that, they don't really have anybody else who is on massive money long-term. They have some guys on some middling contracts that are movable in trades. Potentially guys like Dwight Powell, DeLon Wright, and Maxi Kleber, who are all around $8 to $10 million. Those are all movable contracts. All three of them are good players, and you could potentially package those three together to swing for a star, or just to get off that money to free up cap space at some point. But those are all nice depth pieces to have. Dwight Powell going down was a big blow for them when he tore his Achilles. I believe that was in January or February, in the middle part of the season. Losing him was a little bit of a blow to their depth. It ended up, kind of hurting them a little bit with their rotations and everything. And we saw their record suffer a little bit after that injury as well. DeLon Wright is a nice backup point guard, and Maxi Kleber is a good stretch big. All of those are good rotation pieces that could be flipped for a star, package those salaries together to get to, 24, 25 million and throw in a couple other pieces and you're there for a star player. And so I would not be surprised to see any of those guys moved if they were able to, potentially need to free up some cap space to sign some free agents or trading for a star. And then beyond that, looking at some of their free agents, you have Tim Hardaway, who has a player option for around $19 million. Looks like he's going to take that. I would if I was him. That's a lot of money for a guy of his caliber. He had a nice resurgence this season with the Mavericks. He shot the ball really well, was good for offense, a good, number 2 secondary playmaker scoring option next to Doncic. And he was good for them. And so I think they're content to keep him around. But like I said, if a star does become available, he is another guy who could be thrown in to fill salary at around $19 million. That's a hefty contract that could be used as an expiring deal to, fill in the gaps with trading for a star, something of that caliber. So that's something to watch. Courtney Lee's a free agent. They're not going to bring him back. He's 35 years old, not good at basketball anymore. JJ Barea, 36 years old, potentially retirement for him. If he wants to come back, I think they'll have him. Good veteran leader. His playing minutes are going slowly down and down more as he ages, but he could potentially, come off the bench, be a little backup point guard for you if he does want to come back and play another year. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist is, he was brought in mid-season on a minimum. I don't necessarily see them bringing him back for another year. He didn't really play much. His career might be nearing the end stages, but maybe some other team gives him a chance. And Trey Burke is a very interesting one because he played very well in the bubble. We saw him give them a really big lift in some of those games against the Clippers. Off the bench, coming in with that scoring plug, was really able to get some buckets for him and keep him afloat late in some of those games versus the Clippers. And so I would not be surprised to see them bring him back. He was good for them in their bubble run, and so potentially another 1-2 year deal for Trey Burke I think makes sense for both sides. He can come in, he might have a role there, can play a little bit and show that he can still play in the league after he was really close to dropping out and just being out of the league entirely, but that bubble run might have bought him a couple more years there. And so beyond that, I think it's likely that we see potentially some rumors around the Mavericks using some of those contracts to trade for a star. I always talk about teams trading for stars. It's not going to happen for every team, of course, but the Mavericks are a team that's well positioned to be able to, if somebody became available, because people are going to want to play with Luka Doncic, and they have the contracts to make it work. I believe they have, most of their draft picks still there. They traded, I think, 1 or 2 for Porzingis, but they have a couple of their own picks left, so they have a little bit of ammunition there. And then some young players like Jalen Brunson, and then obviously Seth Curry. I didn't even mention Seth Curry. Throw him into another movable contract guy at around $7-8 million a year, could potentially also be thrown into a trade. And Dorian Finney-Smith, Boban Marjanovic, Justin Jackson are all movable pieces. And so Dallas, really, the roster, the mainstays on this roster are really just Luka and Porzingis. The rest of the guys are probably pretty expendable. Like I said, a lot of those guys are really good role players. But, when push comes to shove, if Dallas is going to trade for a star, they'll give up anybody on the roster except for Luka and Porzingis. And so look out for changes on Dallas's roster, not necessarily for next season, because I think next year they're pretty content to mostly run this back. They have most of their key guys under contract again, and they're probably going to be conserving a lot of their cap space for 2021. And so I would not be surprised to see them just run this team back this year, get into the playoffs again. And if Porzingis is healthy and Luka gets better, they could potentially make some noise next year. I don't consider them a title contender. I see a lot of people having them really high up on their power rankings, like a top 5 team in the power rankings. Personally, I would not put them there yet. I think they might, they'll probably get past the first round of the playoffs in the Western Conference this year, assuming health. But beyond that, I don't know if they necessarily can compete with teams like the Lakers and the Clippers if they fix some of their roster issues, in Golden State in the Western Conference. So Dallas is fun. They're a nice young team. I don't think they're quite ready for title contention yet. But, within a year or two, especially if they can get another piece in there, I would watch out for the Dallas Mavericks. And so for Dallas, I think it's really just about developing Luka and just continuing to get better around him, put pieces around him to succeed. In terms of targets for the offseason, I really think they don't need much. Potentially another backup center, a backup for Porzingis, because you don't know how Dwight Powell is going to look back from that Achilles injury. He might not even be available to start next season. We'll have to see, based on the timing of the start of next year and Powell's rehab from his Achilles. He probably won't be available for the first month or 2 or 3 of the season. And so they might have to find another backup big for Porzingis. Now they do have Willie Cauley-Stein on the roster, who I didn't mention just then. He has a player option for about $2 million-ish. I don't know if he'll take that. But if he does come back, that'll be, at least something. He didn't come to the bubble, but it'll be at least something for them in order to be able to play him and Kleba in their center rotation. And then maybe searching for another backup big that's a little more reliable health-wise. And then just more wings. You can upgrade over like Courtney Lee and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. You can find more wings who can play. And then at guard, I think they're fine if they bring back Trey Burke and have Luka and maybe JJ Barea if he wants to play another year. Tim Hardaway is okay. Dorian Finney-Smith is also good. Throw DeLon Wright and Seth Curry in there as well. Don't want to forget about them. I still think they do need another guard in that rotation, though. They could potentially use another ball handler, a guy who can take some of the playmaking responsibilities away from Luka, so he doesn't have to be doing everything all the time. A guy who can come in and run the second unit. Maybe that's Trey Burke if you believe in him that much. I'm not necessarily sure that I'm there personally. So maybe those are types of guys that you could look to target in the draft and free agency. But other than that, I think this team is pretty well set up. I wouldn't try to spend any money this summer. I think they're okay to just pretty much run this team back with eyes on the summer of 2021 and potentially acquiring a third piece to come in there and really take this team into true title contention, take that leap. But I really think that they are one of the best positioned teams to be successful over the next decade, simply because of the presence of Luka Doncic. He is just really, really that good. And so I think as long as he's there, the Mavericks are going to be a very, very good team. And so that's pretty much it for my thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. And we will be back continuing to cover all 30 teams in the NBA. We're getting through them slowly. I'm thinking my current plan is to get a lot of these other playoff teams out of the way. I only have a few left. We're going to be saving some of the lottery teams for closer to the draft, when we get a little bit more clarity on who they're going to be picking, and maybe some of them after the draft happens, about what's going to go on there. So that's going to be it for me today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. Follow me on all my other socials. You know the drill. Anyway, everything's in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one.